Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Sunday, December 19th, the last Sunday before Christmas. TJ Pittenger, Richie Barnes back with you guys again, talking all things FSU. Obviously, we'll focus a lot on football and different things today. But Richie, do you have all your Christmas shopping done? Does Lindsay have all your Christmas shopping done?
No, we are not even close to being done. We're not really doing anything for Christmas this year. We'll be going into the hospital and serving food for the staff, employees, and patients and visitors and whatnot. So just taking it easy, but we'll be on Amazon when I hop off here to get the final few things. But we taking care of each other. How about you?
Yeah, Karen and I rarely do gifts for each other. So at least I don't have to do that one. I think almost everything is bought. We placed a rather large Amazon order. I think everything for our kids is bought, which is really all that I care about. But we placed a rather large Amazon order this morning. I placed a rather large ABC Fine Wine and Spirits order yesterday. And I think we're about done. So now it's like getting it packed up and wrapped and everything else. But
so we don't wrap anything. We kind of just give each other our presents as they come in. We don't make a big deal out of it.
You got to wrap stuff with kids. You got to wrap stuff with kids.
This came in. Lindsay got me this. It's a piece
coaster.
Of the tuck. It's a piece of the tuck. Signed by our friend Big Bad Brad with its certificate of authenticity and all that. So I thought that was a nice little surprise for me.
Yeah.
As if I don't need any other memorabilia in this room.
I was gonna say you gotta get that hung up soon. I thought it was a coaster when you first held it up, but yeah, probably don't put a drink on that.
No,
wear the autograph off. Well, cool. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you. Well, obviously, if you don't celebrate, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Last episode before that, we're not doing any. If we didn't do a pop-up this week, it's weird. Without the Thursday shows, I feel like we just never talk anymore.
Yeah, right.
Thursday, it's weird that one show where we just had on a guest and really just interviewed them. I'm like, oh yeah, we do a podcast every week. So
yeah.
Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. If you're watching, listening later, wherever, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. You can visit both their locations at 1818 West Tennessee and 2550 North Monroe. Tell them Double Fries No Slaw sent you and enjoy a gut box. No better way to celebrate the holidays than with fried chicken and throwing coleslaw out the window. Richie, we had an eventful week. If we were ever going to do a pop-up episode, it probably would have been this week, but I just don't know that I could bring myself to it. We're going to talk a little bit, not a super long episode, but we're going to talk a little bit about early signing day, the roller coaster that was, talk about the class, talk about some folks in the class, talk about some folks not in the class. Going to talk some coaching changes. Some things have kind of switched up here at Florida State from a coaching perspective in the last week. I believe we've had 3 coaching changes this week. Well, two changes and then one that's kind of like a double change, and then 4 overall since the season ended, and probably not done there. Probably some more things to happen, and then maybe some FSU hoops. And if we have time, we'll see a little bit of bowl talk, playoff talk, and then we've got something that no one asked for at the very end of the show, where I reviewed a beer from Parish Brewing Company called No Slaw Extra Toast. It's a shout out to, or it's like an ode to Raising Cane's. Shout out to good people at Guthrie's, which are the OG. But if you make a beer I said this in it, if you make a beer called No Slaw, that I'm your target audience. So I'll drink it and review it and tell people about it. So Richie, let's get started with the National Signing Day roller coaster that we had. Florida State currently has 15 signees, a 13th best class in the nation, and is second best in the ACC behind North Carolina. We talked about this earlier, the way we wanted to go through it. Thought that what made the most sense was just to kind of go by position group, make sure that we don't leave people out. And I'll say this, we'll have thoughts on some of these guys. This is not a deep dive into every single guy. Not going to be breaking down film or anything on that. If you want that, go to Knowles 247. I've been doing the spaces with Josh. I was talking with Sanone this morning. Those are great guys. Support everything that those dudes do over there. And if you really, really want the deep dive into it, go check out their website because they've got that. So, Richie, I'll let you get it started off. We'll kind of go again by position groups and go from there.
Yes, let's just start at the top. Obviously quarterback, only one signee. I think that's all they were going for. 4-star AJ Duffy from California, plays at IMG Academy. Number 8 QB in the country, 120 overall nationally. A really good pickup. I don't know if he's a, guy that's going to come in and push Jordan Travis day one, but definitely a talented player who had plenty of options and eventually said yes to Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham, despite Dillingham going to Oregon. Out in the West Coast, there was a little bit of worry from the fans that, being Dilly going out there, being a California kid, but he stays in the boat. A really good start to the class, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with Newberg the other day. Obviously, if you're watching this, listening to this, you may have been familiar with some of the spaces that Josh and I have been doing. And we'll obviously get to the biggest news of signing day, which was not positive later. A blow that Florida State took to their class. But at the end of the day, the success of a coach is going to be judged on what he does with quarterbacks, right? Like, we haven't had, I'll say great quarterback play since Jameis was here in 2014. Definitely improved this year when Jordan was in, but even, Jordan missed some games and that certainly showed its head and wasn't great at times when he wasn't able to play. And so, the Mike Norvell tenure, it probably, no pressure, AJ, probably lives and dies on what AJ Duffy looks like, right? We kind of know what we're going to get from Jordan Travis. If he's healthy, I think this ceiling for next year is 8, 9, 10 wins. If he's not, it's going to be tough. I mean, we're going to be right around that 5, 6, 7 win mark again, And so I think that this is a position that there's a lot of hope at this position with Duffy. I don't think that he comes in and just makes, like you said, an impact year one. But if he has a year to sit behind Jordan, to sit behind the other guys, he can get in next year in the 2023 season and be FSU's quarterback, hopefully for 2 or 3 years, right? Like you'd like him to really excel and not be here that long, right? Because he's that good, And if he is, then Florida State's obviously heading in the right direction. So no pressure again on you, AJ, but it's all riding on your shoulders.
and I think we should mention real quick that Mike Norvell is expected to take a transfer at quarterback if the right one becomes available. I know a lot of people were looking at Max Johnson. Well, he joined Jimbo at A&M, but there's going to be a lot more players entering the portal at all positions, and Florida State really needs to hit at one position that we're going to talk about in a second. But we do expect him to take a transfer quarterback as well, so the room should be in decent shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, what that will look like. I don't know, and we obviously don't know who's out there, right? Like we don't know who's going to enter their name, who they're targeting, who they're looking at. But I really am riding with Travis. Like I do think that it's Jordan Travis's room. I think that he is the starter. He's the guy that you kind of want to roll with. And if you can bring somebody else to do a couple of things, push him and be there for depth, right? Jordan has not made it through a season yet without getting hurt. And I think it's some of our biggest moments. If I'll say this, I think if Jordan is 100% healthy in any one of 3 games, 4 games maybe, Florida State wins it, right? If Jordan plays Jacksonville State, if he plays Louisville, if he plays NC State, and or if he plays the full thing against Florida, right? I think that if he doesn't go out and we have basically 3 drives in a row where Florida was just handing us the ball over and over and over again, and if Jordan's healthy there, I think we win either. I mean, I know we win one of those 4 games. Yeah, probably win 2 or 3 of them, right? Like I like us to beat Florida if Jordan Travis doesn't go out. I like us to build up a pretty good lead in the first half, and so, when he's in there, I love Jordan Travis. The problem is that he hasn't shown that he can stay in an entire season, and so you probably do need to take a QB for depth. I will say this too about bringing in a transfer quarterback to push Travis. Jordan Travis took a massive step forward this year, and I don't know that the McKenzie Milton was a hit or a miss. It was, in the regards of like having somebody else that was actually capable and could come in. I mean, and be your backup. It was a miss. From the point of pushing Travis though, and Travis improving, I don't know how much of that was, Travis's just own innate ability and skills getting better, and how much of it was like, oh no, I'm going to step up because now I know I got somebody behind me that the fan base is clamoring for and thinks is going to be the starter. And so I'm going to go out and push myself harder. So in that sense, I think you could maybe consider the Milton thing a hit. Obviously, in having a capable backup, it's a miss, but thoughts around that?
Yeah, and I think with Jordan Travis, his confidence really grew a lot as the season went on. He's probably aware that Mike Norvell is going to bring in a transfer, and I think Jordan Travis doesn't think that that's competition per se. I think he thinks, listen, this is my team. Bring somebody else in, let me beat them out too. All Jordan Travis has done is beat people out these past few years. So I'm here for it. I agree. I think Jordan Travis with another year under his belt, if he can get some mechanics. Now the problem is, who's he going to have the ball? Who's he going to have to throw the ball to? Because that's a serious issue, and it kind of reared its ugly head on signing day.
Yeah, and so we'll move into that, right? We'll move into the skill guys. I will say he probably has some guys to block for him finally.
Yeah.
But we'll move.
Did
you see the meme? Did you see the meme where it was like FSU's first play of the year next year? Well, I'll find it by the time we get to the offensive line. So let's do skill positions first, and then we'll roll. Go ahead.
Yeah, won't spend a whole lot of time on this one. Running back, 3-star Rodney Hill, talented player. The coaches really like him. Someone they identified early on. Never wavered. He's a very active in FSU Twitter as far as just tweeting at other players, recruits. Seems like a good kid. But yeah, not much to say about that. Just one running back in Rodney Hill. So any thoughts around him?
No, I do think that, you could see Florida State active somewhat in the transfer portal here, picking up a running back with Corbin leaving for the NFL. I don't know that there's enough there for us to be super comfortable. I will say that, again, Jordan Travis is a lot of times number one option at running back. Maybe not a number one, maybe like a 1B, right? Yeah. Like you're starting running back. Corbin was obviously the number one option last year. But with him not there, this year, we kind of need to see what Florida State does in the transfer portal, because if we don't pick up somebody that is that number one option, then Travis is going to be that number one option. He's going to take more hits. It's going to lead to exactly what we just talked about in him not being able to stay in games due to health. I mean, you just can't get beat up like a running back when you're the starting quarterback and take the hits that he will have to take. So, yeah, I'm a good hit with Hill, but at the end of the day, you need to do more in that running back room this offseason, which I anticipate being a focus. Next up.
Yeah, so this is a frustrating one. Let's go to wide receiver, where Florida State's really struggled on the field for the past few years. Outside of Tamari and Terry, you can't point to a lot of great receiver play. And you didn't sign a single prep receiver this round, TJ. Mortimer obviously flips to Louisville, and he was really one of Florida State's most solid commits throughout the time. But on signing day, it became clear he was going to flip. Coleman, the 5-star out of St. Louis that Florida State was really high on, but he also really liked Oregon with Mario Cristobal out there. He ends up at Miami with Cristobal now. And Florida State's going to have to get to the portal because, again, no receivers brought in. And a little surprising, they announced yesterday that Ron Dugan's, Florida State's receivers coach, got an extension. I thought,
whoa. Is that real news? I think that was a troll on Twitter. I think you got had.
Oh, then I definitely got had.
Yeah.
I was drinking all day on the golf course.
I'm going to kill Aaron, bro.
Oh, that's outstanding.
I hate you.
Okay. Well, still, so let's talk about that though, because that is a serious topic. I think Ron Dugan's, does he see spring practice, because his contract it is set to expire in I believe a week or so. But I mean, it just thoughts on not getting a receiver, Mortimer flipping. It's very concerning in my opinion, because again, we talk about quarterbacks. Who are they going to throw the ball to?
Yeah, no, that was a position of weakness last year going into the year. David Hale ranked Florida State's wide receivers at 14 out of 14 in the ACC. I do think that there were times where they did step up and definitely played better than that, and there were times that, Parchment made big plays. There were times that Parchment did boneheaded stuff, right? There were times that I thought McLean looked better at times. I thought Helton stepped up at times, but you just didn't really have that number one option. And that reared its ugly head. And, and it's not so, it's not so much a problem that you don't have those number one options against teams like, Boston College and Syracuse and, your lower level competition that you're going to play. But that's going to be a problem when you play LSU next year. And it's going to be a problem when you play Clemson and Miami and Florida and probably go to Raleigh and NC State. And so, that's a big issue. And something that, the staff has to evaluate. Look, I mean, we like these coaches, especially when they've played for us and they've been Seminole legends. They've caught touchdowns in national championships. And, but at the end of the day, I mean, you've got to execute and you've got to perform. And part of these coaches' jobs is landing recruits. And for us to just basically whiff at the wide receiver position, a position of dire need, a position that needed a ton of help, is concerning. It's really, something that Mike Norvell has to evaluate. And obviously we'll talk about Travis later on, but I mean, even if you had landed Travis, I mean, you're looking at using him, 5 or 6 plays a game. Like, that's not enough. Like, even as great as he is and the spectacular things he did yesterday on the field, even, it's just, you can't, the wide receivers coach doesn't get credit for, Woodson having a good relationship with Travis if he ends up coming here and we get to kind of steal him for a couple of plays a game, right? So, I don't know. It's a position that Florida State really needs to hit hard in this transfer portal. It is probably the most important position for them to hit. Florida State did a really good job at some other positions. You talk about Duffy. We'll get to the offensive line here in just a second. Did pretty good in some positions on defense. There's obviously some places that need to be kind of short up there too. But yeah, wide receiver was the most disappointing part of the team last year, and it literally didn't get addressed. Through signing day, which is not great.
And when you're in the state of Florida, you got to get a receiver, right?
Yeah. I think that some of it's a little bit unlucky, because I do think that had you kept, we'll talk about, had you kept Dillingham's, I think that would have been really, really big for Coleman, but you didn't at the end of the day, right? And so you missed out on him. So frustrating there, but what are you gonna do? Again, it needs to be something that really happens big time in the portal for sure. Yeah, and then not being able to read the room and get Mortimer, I think they kind of knew which way the Mortimer thing was going, but not being able to lock him down and keep him from taking visits when he was committed, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, and it's the easiest recruiting pitch against a school right now. It has to be against Florida State's receivers, right? That they haven't done much on the field. The passing offense hasn't been great as a part of that. And, we've outside of Kelvin Benjamin, who's been drafted as a receiver. That was Auden Tate drafted late, or was he a free agent? But yeah, it's just it's so easy to negatively recruit. So I think ultimately you really need to seriously consider making a change there and bringing in another elite recruiter on the staff.
Yeah, it's something that would not shock me if that's something that we see kind of going forward. All right, let's roll. Let's keep rolling through this. Tight end.
Yeah. So Florida State, they have athlete Brian Courtney and then tight end Terrell Powers out of Texas. I don't want to make too much about this about the tight ends. I think they're solid. We'll see what happens. I do think Brian Courtney is a really good athlete, and I think Mike Norvell will find ways to use him. So that's your tight end update. Anything to add there, DJ?
Yeah, not a ton. Tight end has not been a position that we have done a great job with the last couple of years. It's just an underutilized position as well. I mean, it bleeds into that wide receiver type skill position. I did see, I believe Cam McDonald's coming back. That'll help. The fact that he's back another year. I'm not going to flip out over tight ends like wide receivers by any means. But certainly could have done better there, but got a couple of guys that they're excited about, and we'll kind of go from there. This is the big one, though. The obviously the day was rough, but take us to the highlight of the day, without a doubt.
Absolutely. It's Coach Alex Atkins was the MVP of signing day after, first of all, he brings in, four-star Quayshawn Sapp, four-star Jalen Early, three-star Joshy Richardson, Kanaya Charlton. All of those were already committed in the boat. And then after a really bad signing day, as far as expectations versus how things played out, Florida State got a big shot in the arm with a four-star composite, Julian Armella legacy. Florida State, his dad played there, and they really needed that one. There were reports it looked like Miami and Florida were actually getting really involved. He originally was going to wait to sign, but overall 5 high school offensive linemen, 3 of them blue chips, all good size. And then they also brought in Caden Lyles from Wisconsin, the grad transfer, to go in the addition to Bless Harris, who was committed to UCF, the Lamar transfer. So you're bringing in 7 offensive linemen, again, highlighted by Julian Armella. Just Alex Atkins doing a phenomenal job right there.
Yeah, I mean, and Florida State absolutely had to have it, like you talked about. I mean, we haven't really gotten to it, but a really, really rough day on signing day. Needed some kind of good news, and when Armella was supposed to commit earlier in the day and did not end up committing, it kind of felt like when he did kind of come back around and say like, "Oh man, I am going to commit tonight." It felt like bad news was on its way. Fortunately, Coach Atkins was able to get that pull, and man, I don't know that it didn't fix the day. It didn't, but it just, at least we got something.
It was much
there
needed,
at the end of
yes.
the day to kind of make things feel a little bit better.
Especially, it's a little sweeter when obviously, if you have a 247 subscription, you can read the other message boards of other teams, which is awesome. You can't do that on their competitors' websites. But I would checked out, Miami and Florida, and their insiders all thought they had a really good chance at Armella too. So it's extra sweet, winning that head-to-head battle against Napier and Cristobal for Mike Norvell.
Yeah, big fan of stuffing those guys in lockers and welcoming them to the Big Three. This was the I just messed it up. Let's see if I can find this. This was the picture that I was talking about that got tweeted yesterday. Shout out Knowles Anonymous, who tweeted this with the guys that we brought in. Said this will be the first play from scrimmage next year for Florida State. So
love it.
I mean, I was talking with Josh the other day on the Spaces, and I think I even made the joke, all these blockers and nobody to block for. But, hey, fix the offensive line. We hope. Obviously, it has to come kind of to fruition. But, big day for Atkins. We can sprinkle this in. Obviously, Dillingham, OC, left for Oregon. We mentioned that earlier. Atkins on Thursday, day after signing day, was named the new offensive coordinator. And excited for him to be there. Great recruiter, probably best recruiter on staff right now, and glad that he's here, kind of leading the way. Excited for him for sure. And then, well, we can kind of keep rolling. All right, other side of the ball.
Yeah, we'll start on the defensive line, and this is where it gets a little disappointing on signing day when we talk about some of those misses. You did sign 3-star Daniel Lyons and Aaron Hester, who's off the edge, and then 3-star Bishop Thomas. But some really big misses. Tyree West, Nigel Kelly, Marvin Jones Jr., all guys that Florida State was in on and just could not close. But again, I don't want to take anything away from the ones that did sign, but for me, the story is you did not meet your needs here. And you really, the concerning part to me, especially Tyree West, who signs with Tennessee, that's someone that the Florida State coaching staff thought they were getting him. You could not have told them they were not going to sign him. And it's, again, another player, and you're kind of misreading these relationships with these players. So, again, excited about the 3 we did sign, but just some real missed opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, Florida State did pick up a 4-star defensive end, Dante Anderson, who I believe is expected to be it's a little unclear if he's coming in as a scholarship player or a preferred walk-on, but did pick up a really good commitment from a 4-star, again, defensive end out of Homestead, Florida, Dante Anderson, that did kind of help that defensive line recruiting a tad. Certainly you're not going to replace a guy like Jermaine Johnson or Keir Thomas, but certainly need help there to kind of fill a massive void that those guys left. So big there to get him for sure. Another position that Florida State needs to hit hard in the transfer portal is that edge rushing, and this next one that we'll talk about now.
Let's see here. Yep. So then we'll go back to linebacker, and you only get one, Omar Graham Jr., and I think he's a really talented player down out of South Florida there. But again, your linebacker room is one you're trying to restock. You love the progress we saw from guys like Kalen DeLoach this year, and you hope, Dixon Lundy can continue to improve and make some progress there. But you needed more than just Omar Graham Jr. And again, the good thing in the era of the transfer portal, there's going to be players out there. There's going to be options. Like TJ said, you're not going to find another Jermaine Johnson who's a first team All-American that just falls to you like that. But there you will be able to address needs, and you're going to have to, because again, they did not really meet them as far as I'm concerned here. Yeah,
not at all. And again, another. It's hard to hold this against the coach that's there now, Randy Shannon, because he's so new there, but obviously we understood that there were some problems with linebacker recruiting. Coach Marv no longer here. Not saying it's all on him. At the end of the day, this does fall a lot on the head coach to make sure that the recruiting and the targets and different things are, is closing on guys, right? Like you missed out on some big ones and didn't really have backup plans. And so frustrating, because need to close, closers close at the end of the day, but have to do better here at this position. So, all right, then we can wrap it up with defensive back.
Yeah, good news. 5-star Sam McCall. He was the first letter of intent that actually Florida State received. Huge pickup. He's a day one contributor, absolutely. And then a 4-star athlete, Azare Thomas, a former UF commit. By the way, did you watch his commitment video? Because that was outstanding. Two really big pieces right there. Just him being moved to tears, saying, Mom, I got us. I got this family. He's someone, if we have a first-round pick in this class, I hope it's him, man, because that was really cool to watch.
Yeah. No, McCall is a big one for several reasons that we'll get to kind of wrap up the early signing day talk with in just a minute. But McCall is a massive one. I don't mean to go too deep into the rumor hole, but there were rumors. And I heard, certainly don't have, elite sources, but, I heard there was a little bit of smoke too. Some concern about McCall being upset with something else that happened on signing day. And, I don't want to predict or project anything that could happen, but Florida State, with this era of the transfer portal and everything else, Florida State coaches need to not let one big mistake turn into another one, and need to keep Sam McCall committed for several reasons, optics, on-field play, a lot of other things. Azare Thomas as well, really excited to have him on board. Florida State needs help in the DB room. Obviously, there were some guys that flashed last year and showed some promise, and you like that, and you have liked to obviously improve this class even a little bit more than we did, again, with what we'll talk about here in just a minute. But excited with McCall and Thomas in there. I think that class could have obviously been amazingly elite, but still really good with those two guys for sure. All right, let's get to it. We'll do this, rip this Band-Aid off, and then stop talking about it forever. I know guys are sick of hearing about it, but we haven't talked about it yet. And so we'll talk about it quickly and then move on and get off of this so I don't cry again on the air.
We tried to bury this, but I mean, we cannot do an early signing day show and not talk about the biggest news in probably the history of recruiting. Everybody that's watching or listening knows by now, 5-stars Travis Hunter, number one player in the country, chose to sign with Deion Sanders in Jackson State over Florida State. Rumors, was there an NIL deal with Barstool and Portnoy and all that stuff? What's the number? What's the total? I don't know. I would say I was almost positively certain that there was some sort of deal. I don't know if it's the $2 million that they said or what it could be, but again, there's so much to unpack here. But initial thoughts on this, because I know when the coaching staff went to bed, they felt good because Georgia was who everyone was worried about. And the sources at Georgia were telling everyone, no, he's not coming here. Little did we know that it was going to be Deion and Jackson State that would actually make the flip.
Yeah. And it sucked and it was rough. Couple of thoughts, couple of things. I am not upset with Deion trying to get the best player available. I'm not upset with him paying millions of dollars to get that done. Not him personally, but orchestrating a deal. There's no rumor, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Travis Hunter will make a lot of NIL money, and I know that was, I know that was part of what transpired, because I know that Florida State had things going on where they were trying to counter, right? Like, and just couldn't counter to the level that it was at. And so, not upset with Travis Hunter for deciding to go somewhere else. I was most frustrated with the way that it went down. Obviously, I think if Travis Hunter would have been committed anywhere in the country, that would have gone down the way it did if he'd have been at Georgia. Barstool would have stolen him away. I talked to Georgia boosters who were upset that they weren't able to get him. And so I think that it's frustrating the way that it went down, because I think that from what I've heard and been told, it sounds like Travis was somewhat absent from the recruiting group message, and this was, I believe, orchestrated to go down in a way that, like Deion and like Primetime and like Barstool Sports, brought the maximum amount of attention and the maximum amount of publicity and the maximum amount of shock factor, if the maximum amount of embarrassment to FSU, And so I don't really have a problem with Travis leaving the class. I do have a problem with there being obvious deception, to where he's continuing to tell the staff and other people that he is committed, and do interviews and say that I'm a null and do this, that, and the other, and then lead that deception on for weeks, because this deal didn't come together on Tuesday night. This was obviously, he visited Jackson State 3 weeks before signing day. And so I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a huge fan of the deception and outright lying that had to go into it, right? Because the staff was obviously pretty caught off guard. And so I don't love that side of it as much. But at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with a kid making a choice that he thinks is best for him. I don't have a problem with a coach doing anything he can to get a player to commit. I mean, Jimbo's about to sign the greatest recruiting class ever at Texas A&M. And they're paying kids too, right? Like, they're just not doing it the legal way, right? Sometimes you just need those old guys to write checks. And so, at the end of the day, I don't really, I wasn't as big of a fan of the way it went down. And so that's kind of what's frustrating. Obviously, Travis Hunter would have been an excellent addition to this class, would have made this top 12, 13 class into a top 10 class. Probably would have impacted other guys that picked other schools elsewhere as well. There's talk and there's things kind of going around that I think we'll find out in the next couple of weeks, that other recruits, other big name recruits, I don't want to mention anyone specifically, but potentially legacy guys, knew that this was going to go down, and that's why they didn't come to FSU. So frustrating the way it went down, and frustrating that Florida State was caught off guard. I don't sit here and like hate Deion or hate Travis Hunter, but like, I don't think it's a problem for Florida State fans to like be upset about this. Like, I still don't like Oregon because of like the Rose Bowl in 2014 or 2015. I guess it was on New Year's Day, but like, I still don't like Auburn from the game before, so like, to think that I'm not going to like what happened with this, to think that I'm not going to cheer against Jackson State when they play in a bowl game on national TV. Like, no, I'm petty. Like, I still cheer against Oregon every game they play because I hate the way they beat us back then. So like, don't think that I'm not going to cheer, don't think that I'm not going to cheer against that kid or, that team or that coach or anybody else. Like, I'm not going to wish awful things on them. But yeah, I hope they go 0-12 next year. That's just, don't think that Travis Hunter or Deion's special for that. Cause like I said, I'm still cheering against Oregon 8 years later. So that's just who I am. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Frustrating for sure, but at the end of the day is what it is, right?
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit it there. So with fans that are mad at Deion or mad at Travis Hunter, I think that's misguided anger probably, because listen, Travis Hunter's a 17-year-old kid, and he, from what we understand, potentially just made life-changing money for his entire family to go play for Deion at Jackson State. And like TJ said, Deion's job as a coach is, if you can sign the number one player in the country, you do it. You know, to hear fans say, oh, how would you do that to Florida State? Well, honestly, that'd be a fireable offense at Jackson State if he had the opportunity to sign the top player in the country and he chose not to do it because he didn't want to take it from his alma mater. Like it just doesn't make sense. Everyone hates Barstool. Like a lot of Florida State fans hate Barstool. I actually like a lot of their content. I got a big kick out of Big Cat hopping into spaces that Sam from the Listen Up podcast is running on every single Barstool account. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And then people are like, well, why'd they wait till the last minute? Honestly, it would have been better if we'd known before signing day, right? But at the same time, does Sam McCall sign with Florida State if Travis Hunter announces 3 days before signing day? Does AJ Duffy maybe look around a little bit? You know, we don't know these answers, but doing it when it happened, you know, it probably helped Florida State with maybe 1 or 2 recruits that otherwise, if they had more notice, they may not have chosen to get out. So yeah, not mad at Travis, not mad at Deion, not mad at Barstool. That's the way the game's played. And if you think, you know, Jimbo did this all the time, you know, when he had a player commit to him silently that was committed to another school, he would tell them, don't do any interviews, don't tell anybody what's going on, because he knew what could happen. The school could get wind of it and come back. So again, sucky situation, but it is what it is. We'll move on with the players that we did sign.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Travis, Jordan Travis, the only Travis I respect, had tweeted out something like, you know, at the end of the day, we're all who, you know, I don't know, tweeted something like inspirational. Yeah. I forget what he said. I'll find it real quick just so that I'm not misquoting him. But at the end of the day, we're riding who we're riding with, or just whatever it ended up being. I'm gonna find it. Sorry, now that we're here. It'll forever be we're all we're got, we're all we need. Congrats to the Science. Let's get to work on Knowles. Which was pretty clearly a statement, you know. That you know, we're not worried about the people that aren't here. But yeah, I wouldn't say I hate Deion or I hate Travis Hunter or anything else like that. No. But
it is annoying that Deion,
they go on 12.
It is annoying that Deion is blatantly lying about it, right? He's being adamant.
Well, I think you can. I think, you know, and what people say is like, oh, well, he didn't actually pay, and the school didn't actually pay. You know.
So real quick, that's important. That's important because obviously Deion has a relationship with Barstool, has the 21st and Prime podcast. But in Mississippi state law, there's nothing forbidding him to go calling Dave Portnoy directly and say, hey, number one high school player in the country is interested. I need $2 million for him. That's perfectly fine. In Florida, the law specifically stated that the school could not facilitate any NIL deals. So Mike Norvell couldn't call up the Dunlap family and say, hey, I need you guys to write a check for name, image, and likeness for this one. That night, the bill was amended. Sorry. No, that same night, they changed it.
Well,
they're in the process of changing it.
Yeah, they recommended an amendment. Yeah, and you know, the school can't, but there are people that are acting on behalf of the school that are doing that. And so, I mean, you know, there was a number that was pitched around for Travis Hunter. You know, I'm not going to report on a rumor, but like there was a number that he was offered, you know, NIL-wise to come here, and you know, Florida State couldn't get to the amount that they needed to, right, to make that happen. And so frustrating.
Boosters and become a member of the Rising Spear. That's what we got to do now.
So anyway, all right, that'll put a bow on football. We'll see kind of how things turn out. Major needs at wide receiver, linebacker, defensive end for Florida State to continue improving those positions. Probably the running back room, transfer quarterback at some point for depth. Mentioned the coaching changes. Obviously, you talked about Dillingham to Oregon. We talked about Alex Atkins getting the job as Florida State's new offensive coordinator, and then Coach Tokaraz. Am I saying that? Tony Tokars.
Tony Tokars.
Now the new quarterbacks coach. Would not be expected to see more changes in some of those positions that we talked about. All right, what's next? We'll do a little basketball update. You want to do a basketball minute and then a couple other things and get out of here?
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've done one, but the team did win a game, so let's give the listeners a basketball minute.
just what everyone wants. Let's roll. Best part of the show, Richie's basketball minute.
All right. After a 3-game skid, the Stumbling Seminoles were back at the TLC Double C in hopes to feast on some bison from Lipscomb. It was a shaky start for State as the Buffs charged out to an early 14-9 lead. It was at that point where the prolific Anthony Polite had enough, going on a solo 8-0 run, putting the Tribe out front for good. Polite would end the night with a career-high 25 points, connecting on 10 of 14 attempts from the field. Helping out Polite off the bench was the pride of Winter Park, Wyatt Wilkes, finally finding his form, connecting 3 times from downtown in a 13-point effort. With 14:28 to play in the game, Cameron Haymoth Fletcher drained one from deep as the Noles doubled the Bison up 66-33. Ouch. The final few minutes got awfully classless with Isaac Spenauer putting a bow on a 97-60 domination of the Bison. The Tribe was set to seek revenge on UCF today, but the Oakley Rona reared its ugly head once again, canceling the contest. Ham and company will host UNF Tuesday evening at the Tuck before they get into the meat of their conference schedule. Good.
There's no way to fade out the music on this. Like, it's just got, like, the music's got to fade, like, end.
Moral of the story, we won a game this week, so much.
I love it. Hate the cancellation. UCF's playing pretty well right now, and I don't love the way that we're playing. So
yeah, you don't need to lose back-to-back years to them.
Maybe not the worst that ended up getting canceled. All right, bowl season yesterday. Have you been watching bowls?
No, I was
You suck, man. You do nothing.
Sorry, I was at the I was watching Tiger Woods in person yesterday, so I get to get out of free jail card on that one.
Fun bowl games, a lot of good stuff yesterday. Highlighted by Liberty winning 56-20 over Eastern Michigan. Shout out to my alma mater. Couldn't imagine my school not making a bowl. So good stuff by them, for them. Liberty was the first. Now a couple others won later, but I believe the first 5 bowl games, the underdog was the outright winner of the game, which is pretty crazy. Liberty was the first favorite to win, and then there were a couple of late games where the favorites won as well.
So do you bet on bowl games? I don't bet on bowl games outside of the playoff. It's just, you don't know who's playing. You don't know what teams are showing up.
There's very few opt-outs in Liberty versus Eastern Michigan, right? And if Liberty's Malik Willis so they were a 9.5-point favorite. I took them yesterday, right? Like to me, like I like us to win by 10 if Malik Willis is playing against Eastern Michigan, right? So last year I bet on us 3 straight bowl victories for Liberty. Last year I bet on us to beat Coastal. I knew that one would go down to the wire, and it did. It was probably the best game of the bowl season. But typically, but I might take UCF against Florida. Yeah. Like they're an underdog there, and like half of Florida's team's opted out, and Richardson's out, and Emory's playing. Like I kind of like UCF there, but I don't know. In these smaller games, I feel like guys don't opt out.
Yeah,
so like true. It's So another good one is Army is a 4-point favorite against Missouri next Wednesday night.
Okay,
it's kind of a fun one. The Armed Forces Bowl. I do like UCF as an underdog. I'm trying to look real quick. So like Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite against Houston. Like that's one that I won't touch. Like I have no clue on that one. That's a really, really tough one.
They just lost Bigsby to the portal, so that's tricky.
So Clemson's a point favorite over Iowa State. I kind of like Clemson there. Like I just think their trenches are going to be so much different. I kind of like them. Oklahoma, Oregon, to me, that's another tough one. So don't know that I'm going to go with that one. Trying to look at what else is going on. Michigan, Pittsburgh. See, I just think that'll be a fun game. But Kenny's playing, right? Pickett's playing. So I don't know.
I know they're both the quarterbacks are out. Pickett's out.
Really?
Yeah, Pickett's out and Michigan State's quarterback is out.
I take that back. That game will suck. Thank God that game is on a Thursday night.
Yeah, both starting quarterbacks
are out. Is Hardman playing for Wake Forest? They're a 4-point dog to A&M, so I may take Wake just so that I can
hopefully because he's coming back next year, so he's no reason he wouldn't play.
Miami is a 2.5-point favorite against Washington State. I do like them to win that. I hate to bet on Miami because then I end up cheering for them, but I like my wallet more than I like
exactly
on Twitter. And then the playoff game. I don't know if I like. Oh, let's talk about the playoff and we'll go. Georgia, Michigan. You feel good about Georgia there? They're an 8-point favorite.
I I'd probably take Michigan with the points. I do think Georgia wins the game, but eight's a lot. I think if it was at 7, I'd probably sit this one out. But 8 points, I might have to take Michigan there.
Yeah, I kind of like Michigan there, but I mean, man, we've seen what SEC teams do. And I know Michigan's good, right? Like, it's not typical Michigan, but like we've just seen what SEC teams do.
But we know Ohio State can hang with the SEC, right? And what Michigan did to Ohio State was extremely impressive.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that Michigan letdown game, which hasn't happened yet this year, so it might be this week. I also think it's good for Georgia that they lost the SEC because I do think they'll be kind of like galvanized, refocused. But yeah, I think that I don't know, man. You get these SEC teams against these other conferences, and you just see like every time the Big 12 gets blown out. If it's not Ohio State, the Big 10 gets blown out. You think about Michigan State when they've been in there, Wisconsin, Washington. The Pac-12 always gets blown out, and so it's just like, give me Georgia.
We'll see. I'd probably take Michigan if Jabril Peppers was playing, but he will not be in the Orange Bowl.
He's probably out. Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard that it could go either way, but so we'll see. Okay, cool. You have anything else before we get out of here? Give me shout outs. You have anything? We've got one more thing I'm going to play and then we'll wrap up and be done. But do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, actually, shout out my girl, Jamie. She works for the foundation for where I work. And I had reached out to her last week, knowing that we are a sponsor of the PNC Championship, the golf event going on this weekend. And I said, hey, can you get me some tickets like for me and the wife? And she came through, got us 2 Champions Club tickets. So we were out at the Ritz-Carlton watching Tiger, his son Charlie, John Daly, all those people, the Nelly, the number 1 women's golfer in the world. And it was all you can eat, all you can drink in the hospitality tent. So multiple Bloody Marys, a lot of food. But shout out to Jamie, who I work with for that. That was awesome.
Can she get can she get it where they sponsor the pod?
I don't know about all that. No, they're usually asking for money, not giving money away.
Well, they could give some to us. They got it, bro. Shout out the FSU spaces that I've been doing with Newberg. Those are a ton of fun. If you are on Twitter, check those out. Usually around lunchtime, weekdays. We've been going about 4 days a week. It may slow down just a little bit now that signing day is over and done with. A little bit less news going on, but I'm sure we'll be back at some point this week. So hit us up on Twitter. Give me a follow, TJ_Pittenger. I always schedule them out. Very rarely do them like reactionary. So check those out. Me and Josh Newberg at Knowles 247. Those are a lot of fun, and we really enjoy them. All right. I told you guys about this earlier. I'm sure we'll lose all of our viewers and listeners and things, but I recorded a review of a beer called No Slaw, Extra Toast. It's a nod to Raising Cane. Shout out Guthrie's, the real OGs, from Parish Brewing Company. I didn't know whether or not to post this on Bourbon on a Budget because I do a lot of these too. So I'm going to put their little logo up in the top right-hand corner, and this will be like a mashup. This will be a Bourbon on a Budget / Double Fries No Slaw mashup with a beer. After this is over, I'm going to end the podcast. So if you're watching this, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week on Sunday at some point. If you are checking this out and you celebrate, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will see you guys next time. Enjoy the review. Richie, go Knowles.
Go Knowles.
Okay, we're back. Trying something new out today. Typically, I do these rapid reviews with bourbon with my co-host on Bourbon on a Budget, Ben Koch. Sinone obviously has done a couple of them himself. We do a lot of bourbon reviews, but this is something that I've had for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months now, and wanted to do a review on, and so here we are. Parish Brewing Company No Slaw Extra Toast. I know it's a little bit different than what we do at, if I can get that on the screen, Double Fries No Slaw. Same concept though, right? So you name a beer No Slaw, I'm going to drink it. Like that's just I'm your target audience. Like that is marketing to me. So I guess Cane's, I guess this is a Raising Cane's type thing, kind of in conjunction with them. It's a Raising Cane's trademark that they're using. I guess those people like their bread more. We're more of the fry people. That's fine. Shout out Guthrie's, of course. We're more of the fry folks. Cane's, it sounds like it's more of a toast situation over there. I'm going to post a poll and ask, are you bigger, for the fries or the toast? Everyone gets rid of the slaw. Love the name. But I lean more towards fries. Toast is great. Don't get me wrong. But this is a lemonade IPA. So kind of wondering how the balance of the hops from the IPA and the lemonade, is it kind of like a highlight here in Tampa that we have from Cigar City, which is very, fruity, West Coasty, has a lot of the hops too? Or is this more like more closer to like a sour, lemonade? So I'm very interested. 7% alcohol by volume, no slaw, extra toast from Parish Brewing Company. This is kind of a Double Fries No Slaw, bourbon on a budget mashup. Shout out Madison Social, the GOAT in Tallahassee. This was the Jameis Winston first overall glass. So still have them. Let's get our pour on and see how this thing tastes. Shout out Snacking with Sky. Hopefully that will make a return soon. But in the meantime, you are stuck with me for this review. Good pour. Came out pretty good. It's obviously hazy, so I like that. Not super clear. Big fan. Yeah, I mentioned the highlight. This is similar to the grapefruit IPAs, whether you are, what is it, Motorworks down there in Bradenton, or the Sculpin Grapefruit IPA. Similar nose to that, where you get a lot of the hops and then you get the fruity, sweet, and sour. Grapefruit and lemon are very similar, or grapefruit and lemonade would be very similar in that way, to where you'd have sweetness and sour. Good smell. Smells good. Sometimes you get craft beers that just smell like absolute feet. This is not one of those. So, all right. Not doing a rating on... Maybe I will. Maybe we'll do the bourbon on a budget. Shout out to Noan for coming up with this rating system. Out of 2 points for the nose. Nosing beer is just not the same as nosing bourbon, but there's nothing bad about this. It's not pleasant at all. It smells good. There's some hops. There's some sweetness. Give me a 1.5 out of 2. So, taste. Okay. So, okay. So it's not a ton of hops. Like, I'd love to know, well, obviously not going to tell you exactly how their recipe or whatever, but it's very easy drinking. Like, if you're not an IPA person, the fact that they're mixing this with lemonade or adding some lemon and sugar adjuncts later tones down the hoppiness, makes it much, much more palatable. Yeah, I mentioned the Motorworks Grapefruit IPA. I mentioned the Sculpin Grapefruit IPA. I forget the name of the Motorworks one. Sorry that I'm forgetting. I'll try. Oh, Pulp Friction. Similar to that, how that one's a little easier to drink, not so hoppy because they're mixing the fruit in with it and you get the sugar. So this is good. I get it. I assume so like at Guthrie's, you go get the sweet tea. I assume Raising Cane's similar in the South. Maybe it's lemonade's their big thing. I'm not huge on lemonade, but this is good. This flavor is fine. There's nothing that's not appealing about it. If you are a big lemonade person, you'd love this. There's a little bit of a tang, a little bit of a sourness that sticks around into the finish. So I think that, and you do get some of the hops. Like, there's no doubt that the IPA hops are there. Really, really good. Make sure I don't get cheated and get all 16 of my ounces here. Good IPA. And, lemonade's not necessarily my jam. If you're into that, or you need something to like kind of chill the hops out a little bit, good. So I give this taste like a 2.75. So 1.5 for the nose, 2.75. Above average, it's good. It's got a good IPA. There's enough hops there that kind of bring it back. If I was a lemonade guy, or if you're a lemonade person, you're probably going like above a 3 on this, because the lemonade's definitely there, very tart. It's good. Finish, Finish is different on whiskey and beer. I'm not going to dock this for finish because it's just not quite the same with beer. It's not like it holds on. I mean, beer is just so much different to drink, but I don't know. Finish is something like I'll just give it the full point, right? I like that it is a little heavier. I like the 7%. If I'm drinking an IPA, unless I'm drinking, no pun intended, all day, I want an IPA with some heft to it. I like that 6 to 8% range. So I like this. So for finish, we're going to give it the full 1 based on the fullness, the depth. I'm a big fan there. Cohesiveness and complexity. It's very cohesive. It's sweet all the way through. It's hoppy all the way through. It's not super complex. Lemonade gives a little bit. I'll give it a 0.75 out of 1. And then value. This wasn't super cheap. I went through the Tavor app, and then 2 weeks later, I saw it in my local ABC, so I could have just picked it up there a lot cheaper. Value, I think this was like $15.99 for a 4-pack. Maybe I'm off there, and it's like $13.99. Either way, not super, super cheap. It probably gets like a 1 for value. I can't do math, so 1.5 and 2.75 is 4.25, and then I gave it 1 and 0.75. That's a 6 going into value, and then another one, 7 out of 10. It's really good. 7 out of 10 would like almost make the bourbon big board. So the translation is not 100% going from bourbon to beer, but this is good. 7 out of 10. That's a good score for me. We've never rated anything above an 8, so getting a 7 is really, really good. So. Yeah, this is good. I mean, I'll drink this whole thing. And I bought 4 more or 5 more or something like that. So these will be consumed for sure. Parish Brewing Company. Shout out those folks over there. Raising Cane's, obviously, again, the inspiration there. But, shout out the OG Guthries because those are the people that pay the bills. Parish, if you'd like to pay some of our bills, we'd be more than happy to talk about more of your beers. But this one's on us. This one's free. Even though this beer was not free. Check out Bourbon on a Budget, which we do quite often. Myself, Brendan Sinone, and my buddy Ben drops every Tuesday and Thursday, and then we have rapid reviews that fire off at any point during the week. And then, of course, you can always find me on Double Fries No Slaw. Shout out to the good folks at Guthrie's, and we will see you guys next time. Cheers.